Okay, great. So, hello, good evening to everybody. Thanks again to be here with us to a new lesson of the Quadrigram course, Quadrigram Hangout course. Create your own data stories with Quadrigram. Okay, in this third lesson, we are going to learn how to use formulas, how to use operations that will transform our data, and how to synchronize charts, components, controls, etc. So I'm going to share my screen. Sorry, I want to present you to Xavi, that Xavi is with us today to moderate the chat. So if you have any question, you can write in the question and answers, and Xavi will start. Hi, Xavi. So,
Hello.
if you want to write your question, you have to activate the question and answers module in the Hangout on Air, and you can write here in this column. You'll find a green button more or less in this position, and you could ask us whatever you want. So let's start. Going to share the screen. It's okay. Perfect. I was saying that I wasn't sharing the screen, but here you have the button of question and answers. You can click and you can write the question that you want in this column, okay? And what else? If you are if you are seeing this video, this lesson, not on live, after that we record it, you can ask us whatever you want to our section community. Here at community, you'll find people, Quadrigram users that have doubts. Maybe you can find the doubt that you are looking for, or you can create a new one. And I don't know, you'll win reputation points that with that will say if the reputation of you as a quadrigrammer, okay? Great. So let's start. I'm going to click into the editor and open the editor. And here we go. I'm going to work in the lesson 3 project, education performance for each country, okay? In the previous lesson, we learned how to embed images in our project, how to display YouTube videos, okay? And how to synchronize the colors on every chart, okay? We get coherent colors in every chart. And here we have the continents that are the criteria that we are using for colors. We learn how to add a legend control, and to do this we learn how to manage outputs. So if you want to open the outputs of a chart, you can click here in the connect button, and here you'll find the different outputs of the chart. And if you click in a component, a panel will be opened that is the chart inspector, okay, the chart inspector panel where we have the inputs of the chart or the properties. So this is a quick draft or where we are here in this course, and we are going to learn how to use controls and how to use formulas. Great. So the first exercise that I suggest you is how to manipulate dynamically. I think it's better say how your audience can manipulate the ranges of your graphs. Okay, so you have two options. Quadrigram allows to manipulate the range, okay, the axis range of the charts interactively thanks to the property pan and zoom. So for instance, if you activate pan and zoom property as x and y axis, okay, and now you click on preview. If you click here now in this chart and use the mouse wheel or the two fingers in the two fingers gesture in your iPad in your OS X computer, here we go. We can manipulate the range and we can zoom and pan over the lines in order to study in detail just an area of the charts. Okay, great. So this is really easy to do. You can, for instance, constrain the zoom only to the y-axis. So if we click now here in preview simulates the same mode that if you publish your project. Okay, if you click here in publish, now you only can manipulate the y axis. Okay, that's great. So we have another option if we want to learn how to let to our audience to manipulate the ranges of your chart. Okay, probably it is not really interesting, but I'm going to work with this bar chart. Okay, to just as an example to learn how to manipulate the range. So I'm going to add a slider control, and I want to manipulate the Y range. So probably I want that this chart is vertical. So if I change to a vertical shape, here we go. I have a vertical range. So I want, for instance, a control from 0 to 100. This is okay because I'm working with percents, and so the max value never will be upper than 100%. And I'm going to change the step to change 5 to 5 points. Okay, instead of 1 to 1, 5 to 5. So I active the preview mode, and I can change this control. This changing 5 to 5, the value 5 to 5, but we doesn't have connected to the bar chart yet. Okay, we have to manipulate it now. Well, so I can insert here in the bar chart axis. I can find a property that is a visible range of y-axis. This is just what I want to manipulate. So in this case, if I change the range to, for instance, 100%. Here we go. All the bars will be smaller because the range is wider, okay? And if we change now the range for instance, 50%, now it's the opposite effect, okay? And I want to change this number automatically. I want that my audience change this number thanks to a slider control. So I open the slider control, I change the slider position, and here in the slider control, I'm going to give the initial value to 100%. So I change, and now I have a 100% as the main value, okay? So yeah, if I active the preview mode, because it is easy to me to interact with the chart in the preview mode, now I can, here we go, I can change the axis, okay? When the values are smaller than the small range, it is not displaying the values because it has all the columns in the same position. So I think that it's better to restrain to 20%. Great. So here we go. Are not letting to our users to choose a grown value. Okay, to be careful with this. That's great. So that's the first lesson, the first information that we have. I don't know, Xavi, if we have any doubt.
Una cosa. No, we don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Xavi.
Welcome.
So if you want to ask us whatever questions, people that are now on live, you can write us here in the Ask Your Audience to submit questions. And if you are not watching this video, on live, please, you can write us your doubts to the community section, okay? Here I will be really happy to answer you whatever you want. Great. Now I offer you to create here in the dollar spent by non-university student. We are showing just a column, okay, one of the column of our country's context column, this table that we have here. We are displaying in this tree map the distribution of the countries in function of primary to non-tertiary dollar per student column. And I want to change this chart instead of just showing a column that we can change the column that we are displaying, okay? So instead of this title, probably it is better something like, I don't know, explore the country education context by country. Perfect. And I'm going to add now a dropdown to choose the variable, the column that I want to display, okay? So I drop the dropdown here. Going to write here, choose a variable, choose an education context variable, and I'm going to make it bigger, and I think that it probably looks great as Roboto. okay, or another source, another font source, but I think that this is okay. So I'm going to populate the dropdown with variables that I can find in the country's context, that are the columns. So I have to drop here the column names. Great. So here, if I open the dropdown, I can choose another column. This is great because I can choose the variable that I want, but it is not synchronized with the chart yet. We have to synchronize it with a formula, okay? Formula, the red blocks that you can find them in the Manage Data tab. So I'm going to create a new formula, and in this formula I'm going to call it like we are in the explore section. So I'm going to write first explore 2 points and extract the column. So I can choose now the function this. This is a formula. I create a new formula. I give it a name, and now I'm going to select the kind of formula that I want, and I want a filter formula. Filter formula is a formula that allows me to get a part of the data source, okay? So I have to drop the data source, I have to choose the criteria of the part that I want to select, okay? Going to drag and drop here the table. It's great. Going to choose the column name that I want. And now, look, if I write now in this input the number of the column, okay, where column name is equal to the name of the column that I want, here I filter, I extract the column that I want, okay? So if I write now another name, like for instance, region, this is the first column, I think I remember. Here we go. I choose another column, okay? I am double clicking to explore the content of the blocks of information, okay? Great. So now instead of write the text of the column to type the name of the column, I'm going to let to my audience to choose what column they want to filter the source table. So for instance, in order to do it, I'm going to open the connect button, and I'm going to drag and drop. Great, this selector. So now I can change the column automatically with the, here's the tertiary. So if I change now here to upper secondary and I open the block, now I have upper secondary, okay? So I can change with the drop down the column that are within this block. So now I've just to drag and drop the block as the source block of the data property, okay? The area of each rectangle in the data. So if I open now, I active now the preview mode, just to simulate that this is a publishing project. Now, here we go. I can change the dimension that I am showing, okay? I'm going to make slower this transition. I can do it here in the transition property, the transition property. So now it is going to change. Perfect. Great. So that's the way to add drop down and to change. Okay. Great. So in this point, I want to show you some of the quadrigram sections that maybe you are interested in know. Like for instance, here in the website, you'll find the gallery where you'll find amazing examples of or quadrigram users. So if you if you build a data story, if you have a data story that you want to share us, you can contact us. You can contact us thanks to the form that we have on the web, okay? Or you can write us in at the community as we said. And if you want to stay tuned with the last novelties and the last news about Quadrigram and the conferences, workshops, or interviews, you can visit our blog. Okay. And of course, you can follow us, Quadrigram, you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Great. So I want to show you how to create a data movie with Quadrigram. So in order to create a data movie with Quadrigram, you have to add the animator control. Okay, this is, you can figure out what it means. I'm going to add it just after the line chart. So what we are going to do with this control? So you can see we have a play, pause, stop, rewind, and fast forward button that we can use to manipulate a list in order to get an element, a sequences of elements each time. So we can, for instance, we can create a chart. I'm going to populate a bar chart, okay? That in this bar chart, we're going to have the scores on the PISA performance by country on just 2000, and the next step, the 2003, the next step, the 2006, and that's up to the end of the series, okay? So I'm going to, in order to use the play pause control, I have to populate it with the years. Where can I find the years? That's really easy. If we go to the PISA reading table, that is my horizontal table. Why horizontal? Because I have in in the columns the same variable. That's the score of the PISA reading exam. Okay. Here I have the different columns. And Now, in the horizontal table, we have the years as columns of the same variable, and I can use the column names as a list of the years that I want to get in a sequence. So first the 2000, first the 2003, first the 2006. So I add the column names to my play pause control and check in the outputs of the control that the current value is returning the first year. So if I click on the fast forward button, here I have a progress bar, and if I click in current value, I have now the next value, and if I click again, now I have 2006. Great, so now I can control a sequence. If I want to display this sequence, I can use a dynamic text where I can add a text that changes dynamically. That's dynamically, it means that change thanks to, instead of typing you can drop a block in the text property. So I can open the current value, I can open the outputs and drag and drop the current value output, and now I have the 2003. So if I active the preview mode to simulate that I am in a published project, now it changed. Great. And if I active the play, it automatically changed. I can modify in the play pause control the step duration and if I want to loop or not my data. If I don't want to loop it, I can choose in this property. Okay, I think that this dynamic text control needs a little format. Like for instance, I can increase the font size to 20 points. Probably Roboto is going to work better. I think that 24 points is better. And I want a vertical align to the middle. That I think that it's better, okay? So check the result. I think that a little bigger could work better. Great. So now I'm going to complete my exercise, just adding a bar chart. And here we go. I need to extract from the horizontal table the column that are here we have the columns, okay, of the horizontal chart. So I want the column that I need in function of this control. So I'm going to create a formula here to extract the column, okay? This is a pizza section, so I'm going to write pizza extract here. So I click on filter now, and I'm going to drag and drop the source, that is the pizza reading, where column name is equal to the current value. Okay. So now we have the 2012. If I stop, I reset the control, and now I have the 2000. So I'm going to assign to my bar chart the data. I can sort the data. I think that we explained how to do it in the previous lesson. Yeah. We can add a formula because I'm going to create a fake formula to explain this. We have a sort formula here, but we can use the property that has integrated in the bar chart. So if I sort like descending, automatically the data are sorted, okay? So, and I want the same colors that I have in the other chart. So if I open the outputs of the tree map, for instance, and I get the colors of items, I can, here we go, I have the same colors. Probably I have the legend, yeah, I have a legend that is closed. This legend can work for both graphics, and I'm going to change the opacity to, that's okay, more or less this value that is around 60%, okay? Great, and I don't want selection in this chart, so I can go to selection mode and click to no selection, and I deactivate the selection. Now it's over. I can select, I can highlight the elements, okay, the items. Okay, so it can, now if I active the preview mode to simulate that I am in a published project, I can click in play. Now change the ranking in function of the year. I want to remember that the scores are the differences on the reading between girls and boys, are not the final scores of the students, okay, the PISA readings. Okay, so at this point, if you play with the project that we did, maybe you detected that if we choose the region in the drop-down example, if we choose the region, the chart says ground kind of data for this visualization. Is this okay? If I click in the tree map and I click on data, can double click in explore the content, and now here I find that my input values, the values that I drop to this property, if we choose region, are not numbers, so I cannot represent this kind of data in a chart. What I need to do is to limit the dropdown in order that it doesn't show the region. If I want to do this, I can create a new formula that I'm going to call, for instance, explore, delete region column, and I want to organize them so I can drag and drop the formulas that are common, okay, that are about the same components. And now I can add a filter where instead of the whole table, I'm going to focus in the column names, where the column names, okay, are different from region. So now I can delete the first entry, the first item, so I don't have now the column region in this block. So if I drop to the drop down input this formula, Here we go. Now we are not offering to our audience the possibility of choose a ground column. Great. So perfect. Okay. Now at the end, I'm going to show you how to aggregate how to aggregate data, how to summarize them. Okay. So I'm going to duplicate this title because now I'm going to work in a section that is data, country, context by region. That's university, people with a university degree, percentage of people with a university degree by region. It's really long, but that's okay. I think that it's clear the meaning. So I'm going to draw a new bar chart, but this time I'm going to show the average values of the university degree by region instead of using the country. Okay, these are my regions. So what I can do now is to drop here a bar chart. Great, and I'm going to create a new formula. To call it region, summarize, and this time I'm going to choose the summarize formula. So if I drag and drop this formula and I add the country's context, I can, sorry, no, the country's context, the first sheet. That's great. Now I summarize by region, okay, because I can choose the column that I want to use as criteria to aggregate the repetitions, and I want regions. But I want that instead of adding, because I think that there is no meaning in adding the percentages or the dollar per student the spending. I think that is clearly more interesting to to use the mean, calculate the mean of the column. So now here we go. I have the same table, that the same country's context table, but this time I have the columns instead of countries. I am using regions. So I can drag and drop in the bar chart the percentage of people with a university degree, that is a tertiary column, okay? And now I can say, okay, I want the same colors that in this legend. This is easy to do. We do it several times. Click here and click on color of items. we need to, sorry, I forget one thing here. I have the tree map and, no, sorry, the bar chart, original bar chart, that's all. That's the chart that has the categories, and I can drag and drop the same categories that this chart has. Great. Other option, if I have a table with the colors, is that I can drag and drop the table. I can directly drag and drop the country's context. Well, so I'm going to change the opacity to 60%. Leave it current with the other properties, and I'm going to active the sort by values property. That's great. And probably I don't want to allow two people to sell it because it is not useful for me. So I'm going to click to no selection, and that's okay. Now I just have the mouse over where I can choose a percentage. I think that the tooltip could be great. If we remember from the first lesson, we can change the label or the label of the tooltip, like per people with university degree, and the suffix percentage because it is a percentage. Now it's better. And in the axis, I can have something similar like people with university degree percentage. Great. So that's everything. I just want to remember that you can contact us thanks to our website or write us whatever you want to the community and share with the other Quadrigram users. And you can find more help in the tutorial section where you can find how to do great things. So the project, the exercise of this week is to replicate with your own data. If you are following the course, it's continue with the project that you are building in along the classes. Okay, so you have to, in this lesson, you have to add a control. You have to add a control to a bar chart in order to modify in order to modify the range of the scale. Okay, like this. You have to create a data movie. And you have to change the variable that you are displaying in a graph using a dropdown like this. Okay, great. I don't mind if you want to get the maximum score, you have to create a region the aggregated graph, but it is not needed. Okay. The exercise is the dropdown, the data movie, and the slider control to change the range. So thank you very much for attending us. I don't know if we have any doubt or any comment. Well,
Questions, Carlos.
okay, well, thank you, Xavi. So thank you very much. On the next lesson, we are going to learn how to create networks and how to use maps and geographical representations like heat maps or points in a map or choroplates. And we are going to learn how to create networks and how to visualize them, and we'll start just basic notions of how to create a presentation with Quadrigram. So thank you very much for staying with us, and thank you from the Quadrigram team. See you.